let's dive right into a question that seems simple on the surface but gets really complicated really fast. Is honesty always the best policy? We have all been there. You're in a meeting, a new idea is on the table, and you can just feel it. Nobody's really buying it, but no one wants to be the first to say so. And then, one person speaks up. They say the thing everyone was thinking, and suddenly you could cut the tension in the room with a knife. This moment is the perfect little puzzle. We say we admire honesty, but boy, it sure makes things uncomfortable.
Okay, so to really get a handle on this tension, we first have to ask, why do we put truth-telling on such a pedestal in the first place? Well, it turns out it's a really powerful moral ideal with some pretty deep historical roots.
All throughout history, certain figures have become these larger-than-life symbols of truth. You've got Socrates in ancient Athens, Abraham Lincoln in 19th century America, and then Mahatma Gandhi in 20th century India. The commitment to truth is this thread that connects them all as people of great character.
Okay, so that brings us into the modern day. Why are some of us so much more direct than others? Is it just baked into our personality, or is it more of a social act, a performance we put on? Turns out there are two really different ways of looking at this.
So on one hand, you've got psychology. It gives us something called the hexaco model, which suggests that honesty, humility is a core part of our personality. For people who score high on this, being direct and sincere just feels right. But on the other hand, the sociologist Irving Goffman had a totally different take. He said that all of social life is like a performance, and we're constantly adjusting what we say to make sure the show goes on smoothly. Goffman called this impression management. Now, the point isn't usually to lie or deceive people. It's about preventing unnecessary drama. We bite our tongues, we soften our feedback, all to keep our relationships working and maintain a basic level of social harmony. I mean, can you imagine if everyone said exactly what they were thinking all the time? It would be chaos.
But these two ideas, that it's either your personality or it's a social act, they don't quite cover everything. There's still this lingering question about that feeling some people have, this deep, almost irresistible need to speak up.
Yeah, exactly this. Why does that person in the meeting decide to stir up that hornet's nest, even when they know it's going to make things tense? What is that inner drive, that compulsion that's so strong it just overrides the basic desire to keep the peace? To answer that, we have to pull in a third perspective. And for this, we're going to turn to the philosopher Michel Foucault. He came up with this really fascinating way of understanding how society's rules get inside our heads and become these powerful internal forces, almost like there's an inner watchtower where we police ourselves.
Foucault's big idea is the panopticon. It was a design for a prison where a single guard in a central tower can see into any cell at any time. But here's the twist. The prisoners never know if they're actually being watched at any given moment. So what happens? They start policing their own behavior all the time, just in case. Foucault said this isn't just about prisons. It's a metaphor for how modern society gets us to behave.
Just think about our world today. Traffic cameras, your online search history, social media. We know we're being observed, and it makes us monitor ourselves. But the philosopher Byung-Chul Han argues it's gone even further. Now we actually do it to ourselves willingly. We become our own boss, our own supervisor, constantly pushing ourselves to perform and live up to certain standards. And here is the absolute key to unlocking our puzzle. This powerful self-monitoring system isn't just about being a good employee or getting things done. It can grab hold of our moral values too. A big ideal like honesty can become the internal ruler we use to measure ourselves constantly.
This quote just nails it. The watchtower isn't some building outside anymore. We've built it inside our own minds. When honesty becomes one of your core internalized values, you become both the guard enforcing that standard and the prisoner who has to live by it. Staying quiet feels like you're failing. Softening the truth feels like a cop-out. That compulsion to speak up, it isn't just your personality. It's a moral rule you're enforcing on yourself.
So we've looked at honesty as this big moral ideal, as a personality trait, as a social performance, and as this internalized rule. Now, let's bring it all home and turn the question back to you.
Does that resonate with you?
Are you the one who feels that pull, that internal need to just get the truth out there, no matter how uncomfortable it might make the next 5 minutes? Or maybe you're more of the social strategist. You're constantly doing that impression management, reading the room, picking your battles, and deciding that, you know what, some things are better left unsaid for the sake of keeping the peace. And of course, for a lot of us, it's not so black and white. Maybe you find yourself switching back and forth between these two modes, depending on what's at stake, who's in the room, and what feels important enough to fight for. Of course, there's no right or wrong answer here, but thinking about where you usually land, whether you're driven by your personality, the social situation, or that little guard in your own inner watchtower, it tells you a lot about how you move through the complicated social world we all share. Because in the end, it's not just about what you say, is it? It's about why you say it.